Oh, man. All right, check 1, 2. I sound great. I sound perfect. Hulon?
I would tend to agree.
Thank you. And I have it on tape.
This time.
I have it on tape. Tell me I'm always right.
No.
Tell me.
No.
This is like pillow talk with my wife. Just say I'm always right. No, Kris. Get off of me.
And that's when she goes, I'm asleep.
Dear God, put your shirt on, man.
But you just told me you're asleep. Right.
Wait a second. She's not? It's weird. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1.
Please stop.
This is Felt Recoil.
Welcome to the Felt Recoil Podcast. This is episode number 58. It is a couple days after Christmas, so we're glad to be back. My name is Kris, and across from me
is Patrick.
How was your Christmas?
Short.
All right. We won't get too far into it yet. We're going to start with our charity of choice, but first I'll give you the rundown on this week's program. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to follow up on the James Yaeger conversation we had last week. It was an interesting show last week. When we stopped last week and then I was posting it, I thought to myself, I'm probably going to hear about this one. And boy, was I right. I got a few messages about it, one in particular from a very good friend, and I'm going to share that with you. And then also I want to clarify the website we talked about, which will happen as I share my friend's message with you. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on at Remington. The RM380 is $100 now. What is happening? And then,
that implies something is going on at Remington.
Oh, yeah. So we're going to talk about why nothing is happening at Remington. Trump's tax plan and the GOP, man, just, they're just going after those middle-class people, getting them $1,000 bonuses at work left and right.
The gall of these people.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously hate everybody. It's an amazing thing. And then Cenk Uygur, I think that's how you say his name. He's out at the Young Turks. You'll know him if you see him. And then our Voda of the week.
You'll have to look down.
This is, yeah.
The joke is because he's short.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah, like I think he's maybe it's not politically correct, but he's a midget.
What?
Is that no? Maybe that's not what they say nowadays.
Well, I mean, I think
I'm not keeping up with what the kids are.
They'd call him a little person if they're going to be politically incorrect. But is he really, truly a midget?
Yeah, I think so.
I think he was. It would explain that complex he kind of carries with him. He's got that Napoleon complex big time. Anyway, all right, we're going to try and get to all of that. But first and foremost, we'll talk about our charity of choice this week. But I want to give you a follow-up and just say thanks so much. We were able to raise over $1,000 for my Aunt Alice and her husband, Ron. Alice, if you don't recall, had a brain aneurysm. She's one of only 15% of the people that survived what happened to her. She's now home, not quite back to 100%, and she won't be there for about another year. But a lot of generous donations came in. We were able to give them over $1,000. So thanks so much for that. And by the way, you can go back and still give. It's still available there. But, their car broke down last week. So the money was right on time. Right on time. They're without transportation. She's dealing with all this. And they were able to get a check for more than $1,000 thanks to all the generosity. Okay. And then second follow-up. Last week's charity of choice was for the Clemens family, and they have raised more than $40,000. And you can do the math whenever you feel like it, but that's $40,000 raised by just 327 people in 9 days. So
very impressive.
When we tell you every little bit helps, it's absolutely true. 300 people coming together and raising over $40,000 for a widow and a son who will now grow up without his father, who by all accounts, and I didn't know him personally, but I know a few people who did, all accounts was just one of the best people you'd ever meet. So kudos to you for your generosity and really making an impact and a change in the world. Okay. This week's charity of choice will be Operation Underground Railroad. I don't know how much more I can say about how awesome this organization is, but I want to bring it up in case you haven't heard me talk about it before. These people literally drop themselves into life and death situations where they deal with sex traffickers and they hire out child prostitutes And when the traffickers show up with the children, the police storm in and arrest everybody. These guys say they go through the front door everywhere they go. They work with local governments and police departments, and they say, we're going to come in and we're going to rescue children, and we're going to rescue adults, and we're going to rescue these people who have been enslaved by the monsters of the world. And they're fantastic people. Every mission they conduct costs them about $60,000. So my wife and I give a monthly contribution to help support them. You can give whatever you want whenever you can. Just visit feltrecoilshow.com and click on Charities of Choice, and that's a spot where you can find a link to them and your ability to donate to the cause. Okay, that's Operation Underground Railroad doing God's work today. I'll tell you that right now. All right, Patrick.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember the worst Christmas gift you ever got? Let me ask you, let me rephrase it so you don't feel kind of on the spot. I don't want anybody to feel like you're calling them out. Do you remember your most disappointing Christmas you ever had? Was there a Christmas where you said, you know what I'd really like? A bike, and then you got a fish tank? You know?
I don't know that ever happened. I mean, that might sound like kind of like I'm copping out, but I genuinely mean I don't think that ever happened. There's been some times where, sure, I wanted one thing, but I got something else, but it actually was probably better than what I wanted. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I think that because my parents were always pretty good about pulling a switcherooski.
I was about to say, the son of the woman who told me she's been to Disney 16 times probably didn't get let down a lot at Christmas.
No.
I understand. Yeah, I think I've mentioned this before. I am cursed with the fact that I'll spoil my children because I never grew up, and I held on to a lot from childhood where I remember specific feelings. And so I have all this empathy where I go, I just don't want that for my kids. But the flip side of that is you really, truly don't want them to be spoiled. So we had probably the greatest moment I'll ever remember with my 5-year-old son. It was pretty fantastic. But so my mother-in-law works for Walmart. Okay. And so she does this thing where all year long, she's Christmas shopping all year long. Okay. There is no shortage of gifts in my house at Christmas time.
My mom kind of does the same thing.
I could not buy for my kids and just say, don't worry, Lala's bringing it all. And she would show up. And they would go, oh, yeah, obviously, this is from everybody I've ever known. There's so many gifts. So my 5-year-old decided that he would kind of cop a little bit of an attitude halfway through opening gifts, okay? And I mean, they're piling gifts on the kid, and there was a lot. So we did 3 Christmases on Christmas Day. We did our family Christmas in the morning, and we did that just here at the house, and we gave him a bike, and then he and I put the bike together. He's really excited about that. He loves messing with the tools, and he actually knows what they do, and I don't, so he can show me, and then I can kind of tighten it down.
Man's man.
Yeah, that's right. And so
your son, not you.
Right. No, my son. Yes, absolutely right. And so we put the bike together, and he's riding bikes and all that. And then we go to my parents' house, and we do gifts with all the cousins and all that. And then we come back, and it's already been a long day. And here comes my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law, and they bring all these gifts for the kids. And in the middle of all this madness, he's opening gifts left and right. And we have 3 kids, and so you're trying to keep your eye on all 3 of them. But he happened to be sitting directly to my left, and he gets I don't even remember what it was, but he's getting all these gifts, and he gets this one. And to his credit, it kind of was a baby toy. It looked like a baby toy. And it just did. It was like blocks or something. And he kind of opens it. It's one of something he's already got. And he goes, it's like baby toy. So it's just blocks, essentially, And he literally just kind of shuffles it to the left. Like gives a small little throw to the left on his pile. And he goes, what's next? So I go, hey, hold on. And they're handing him a package as he's demanding it. And so I go, hold on a second. And I take the package and I hold it in my lap and I lean over to him and I go, hey, listen. Nobody has to buy you anything. Do you understand that? He goes, yes. I said, you be grateful for every gift you are given. Do you understand me? Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My wife is listening. May God strike me dead if I'm lying about what happens. I hand him the next gift. He opens it up and it's a bag of raisins. I had to just sit there. I look over at my wife. And I don't know if he was being genuine or if he really means it. Because, oh, raisins.
Timing is everything in life.
I could not. My mother-in-law was sitting right across from me, and she and her husband are kind of watching all the kids open their gifts. So I had to do everything I could to just maintain composure and not laugh. But I wanted to just die. I wanted to die so hard. I just looked up. I remember looking up at my wife, just kind of shrugging, like, yeah, what are we going to do about it? I was like, eh. And to my son's credit, he did very much. He started eating them a little bit later. He's like, these are really good. And, they are. If they're not presented as fruit, you might be able to convince him something's good for him and he can eat it. And so he's like, yeah, these are good. And so then his spin on it was, hey, Dad, can I put these up? He has a bunk bed and there's drawers all over, like the frame of it. He goes, can I put this up in my drawer and have a snack in case I get hungry while I'm in bed? And I was like, sure, of course you can do that. You can have those anytime you want. Oh, but man, right after the lecture, if you be grateful for every gift you get, he opens it up. It's literally a bag. It's like, those snack size boxes of them, but it's a bag of like 10 of those or something. I don't know how many were in it, but that's what he got. And I lost my mind. Not to be outdone, I did get a gift this year from a relative. And I'm not sure if it was a mistake, but my grandmother sent me a shaving kit, like a travel shaving kit, It's about time somebody got you one. Yeah. Again, much like my tools, maybe someone will come and show me how it works. But it was empty. It's just like the thing that holds all the goods, right? Right. And I go, okay, cool. And just out of habit, I look inside of it, and there was a single pair of white socks. No like tag, no indicator of brand. There's nothing written on the toe as is normal. It was just a single pair of white socks. And so later in the day, I asked my brother, I said, hey, what did you get? And he said something, whatever. And I said, I got this single pair of socks inside of it. And we kind of remembered that our great-grandparents always bought all the kids socks and underwear. That's what you got from Mom and Pop every year. And so offhanded, I go, well, I mean, I guess I can see as a parent, I would be super happy if somebody did that every year. Just showed up with appropriate underwear and socks for the kids, because then I would just throw all the old stuff out and replace it with this new stuff, right. So as a parent, I could be appreciative of that. And my dad goes, well, the older you get, the more you'll learn to appreciate gifts like that. And I said, well, then here you go. And so he got the socks. So hopefully Dad's very happy. But I told him, I said, it seems to me they may have been folding laundry while wrapping gifts. I thought, no, this goes here. Oh, oops, where'd that pair of socks go? Because
Aunt Bethany wrapping her Jell-O mold.
Yeah.
Or a cat.
Yep. Anyway, all right. So did you have a good Christmas this year? You said it was short.
Of course.
Anything stand out?
No, it was just short.
Okay. Did you get your fiance a wedding date?
We've already got one of those.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. And we're not friends. Why would I know that? Congrats to you then. Congrats to you.
Oh, hey, Kris, hey. You're not invited.
Oh, good. That's fine. I didn't want to go.
I kid. I
got invited to my buddy George's wedding, so that's all I need. Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't supposed to say it in front of you. He asked me not to. Okay, let's follow up on last week. Last week, we spent a lot of time talking about James Yaeger and the unbanned James Yaeger movement on YouTube, and the fact that I refuse to participate in helping unban James Yaeger because, A, I don't think it's a great idea. That's not the guy we all go to battle for. We don't beg YouTube, don't discriminate against the gun community and do it on his behalf, because eventually what's going to happen? he's going to do what he does again, and it's going to be, it's going to be a strike against all of us, right?
Sure.
All right. That was my take on it. I also highlighted the fact that we not so long ago received an email from a website, I guess website company, I don't know. We received an email from a couple of guys who we have, respect for, and we appreciate. They're inside the industry, and they've launched a website called ViralHerd.com, and their positioning on ViralHerd is that it's an alternative to YouTube. I would say at the outset, the road to hell is paved with really good intentions. And so I think these are really strong, good intentions that these guys have. But I kind of compared it to piracy, which I somewhat stand behind in the sense of, I think what's happening over at ViralHerd, if someone came to me and said, hey man, give me $5,000 and I'm going to launch this website and it's going to be an alternative to YouTube. And I go, okay, explain more. And they say, well, what we're going to do is take every video off YouTube and put it on this website and just sell banner ads around them. I would say, explain to me how we're legally allowed to do that. I'm just a little confused as to how that's allowed. I truly am. I'm sure it is. But as ignorant as I am, I would wonder, how is that allowed? Number two,
you can host your own videos wherever you want, right? I mean, if we want to put a video that we posted to YouTube on the Fell Recoil Show's website,
you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want.
So I don't see any difference there. That's the only thing I would tell you.
But it's not their videos. It's everybody's videos.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Okay. Yeah, so they're taking videos from PewDiePie. They're taking videos from all the big video gamers, and they're using them on their website. And they're making it look like those videos are trending on ViralHerd and as if they're the most watched. If the website was, here's all the cool, this is what ViralHerd needs to do. Here's some free advice for you. Turn it around and say, we are now where you go to find all the best gun videos on YouTube. You don't have to sift through every gun video on YouTube to find what you're looking for. We're going to compile all the best on this website. Then it makes sense to me. But it's presented as if it's an alternative, but all it is some sort of aggregate for YouTube videos that's taking those YouTube videos. So this is somewhat important. I'm going to dive deeper into it because there's going to be a couple of points here in the message we got that I'll address with that context. Makes sense? Okay. Sorry, my mom's texting me. I'm totally distracted. I'll stop. Okay. All right. So our buddy Brian was a guest.
You found out you're mad about the socks, apparently.
Right. You're a brat. Our buddy Brian was a guest on this program. He's a very nice guy. I love him to death. He's one of the nicest people you could possibly ever come across. And he sent a message about the James Yaeger conversation. I told him I would follow up and read it here because I think it's worth sharing what is a dissenting point of view on the matter. And so we'll do that now. He says, your most recent episode was entertaining as always, but I think you've got a couple of fundamental misunderstandings. It sure goes beyond my ability to comprehend pretty quickly, but here are a couple of points I'd ask you to consider. See what I'm saying about being nice? Mine would have started with, hey, if you die this week because a bus hits you, I'm not going to be sad because you're way wrong. That's how I start my emails when I disagree with people. Obviously, Brian, a better man.
Yeah, I get a couple of those a week from you. I know how it works.
Right. Point number one, curation sites are different than piracy. Embedding content from YouTube helps both YouTube and the content creator. You were right that it's not a YouTube replacement, but it's fundamentally different than people using your radio work, which is a story I told after your program director quit. So if you didn't hear what I was talking about last week was that basically creative theft is a huge problem for me. And if someone creates something and you use it as your own, prime example, I was thumbing through LinkedIn today and I saw a lady use a quote that I believe was Abraham Lincoln. I think it was a Lincoln quote, but she used a very popular quote and didn't attribute it. and then said she was a creative marketing person and contact her and she can help your brand. And I thought about commenting, what other ideas will you steal?
So she was all 4score.
Right.
Call me for more of these great ideas.
7 years ago, this company started. I can't remember the exact quote she stole. I wish I could remember her name. I'll thumb through real quick and see if I can find it. But, another case would be we've now had a politician named Lee Bright who did a massive Who is Lee Bright campaign here in the upstate of South Carolina. And now we have a realtor doing it. And it's Who is whatever his name is. And it's a real estate company. And he did billboards all around town that just said Who is so-and-so. And now it's got his picture and explains who he is. And it's just this, if you have to look to somebody else, here it is. If you have to look to somebody else for your idea, you're not creative enough to be saying A, that you're a creative person, but B, also you're kind of taking bad advice because it's played out. That kind of Who is John Galt shtick is played out, and I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of people taking other people's ideas and using them. This girl put, the best way to predict the future is to create it. I can't remember who said it. Probably not Lincoln. Marty McFly? Yep. No, somebody notable.
Right when he hit 1.21 gigawatts.
The best way, it's supposed to be the best way to predict the future is to create it. Yeah, look at that.
Great, Scott.
According to Goodreads, it is Abraham Lincoln. Let's see, this is Forbes.com. You may have wondered why so many things seem to be harder the old way. People alive today. Think about demographics.
I like to think that she has a quote a day app on her phone, and every day when she wakes up, she reads it, and she just soaked that one in, and then went about her day, and then later on it popped back in her head. But she thought it was an original thought.
Right, yeah. She just spaces out right after reading stuff and goes about her business. Goodreads says it's a Lincoln quote. I don't really find them to be totally reputable. Forbes.com has it as a headline that they used for an article, of course. But my point is, the point stands. It's just one of those things where I see it and I go, man, that's so irritating. Come up with your own thing. Come up with your own phrase. Come up with your own marketing campaign for your billboards. Stop relying on everybody else to do the hard work for you, and then you're just going to piggyback on it. It drives me nuts. Anyway, that is part of what Brian is saying here, that the curation is different than piracy, and embedding content actually helps the YouTube creator, which is different than somebody stealing their idea. I get it. Okay. Point taken. Here's the part that I think Brian proves my point. If someone takes content and republishes it as their own, then it's piracy. If someone serves your content on their site, you get more views and more revenue. They'll only monetize their site through banner or side panel ads. It's a win-win. If done well, it's serving the watcher too, because they don't have to sift through a bunch of poor quality content. Anyway, take it or leave it. But
I knew I liked that guy.
That's an alternative option. Right. And so then he's about to make a bigger point that we'll dive into. But I'm going to read you the press release that went along with ViralHerd. This is just where I'm saying I get it, good intentions, but I think there's a problem here because we are acting as if ViralHerd is its own thing. And the point I'm making, not being personal about it, but just professional and business, is as someone who actually works in this space for a living, who helps businesses brand themselves, who creates creative content for businesses, I can tell you that anyone visiting that website after reading this press release feels bamboozled, because you're going there expecting a unique experience, and all you get is a poor man's version of YouTube.
Let me ask you a question. As a guy who helps businesses come up with these brilliant ideas, how many Abraham Lincoln quotes would you say you use in a pitch?
In a pitch
so
to a company?
You're sitting down with Joe Blow's gas station, and how many times are you going to throw out a Lincoln quote so you can really set the hook?
Yeah. Probably twice, at least.
Okay.
At least.
Appreciate your honesty.
I like to go. Like Lincoln said, I have a splitting headache and see who laughs. Then I'll know if we're getting along. No, I never have. But I'm sure it works for that girl. I don't know. All right. ViralHerd, just to put you in perspective here, currently, as we sit here, has 3 featured videos at the top, and they are all housed on YouTube. When you click them and watch them, they're inside of YouTube video players. Under trending videos, there are 4 on the front page, and all 4 of those are hosted on YouTube. When you click them and watch them, they're inside of a YouTube player. By the way, guys, one of those is in German completely. So I don't know how it has 65,000 views on your site, which it doesn't. It's on YouTube, but it's in German. And then you have 8 most talked about videos, and again, all 8 of those are housed on YouTube. So what point am I making here? I'm just telling you that as a gun guy who got the press release and was told here's an alternative to YouTube, I felt bamboozled when I went there because it's not an alternative to YouTube. This is someone taking YouTube content, putting it on their site and selling banner ads next to it. The experience is worse than YouTube, quite frankly. The site is jumbled. It's hard to navigate. Everything is slow to load. I will go back to YouTube. I'll go back to YouTube because YouTube is paying for the bandwidth to host all these videos you're using. And so I get it there quicker. That's just the facts. That's how it works. And so I'm not trying to say that these guys are like pirating material. My point last week was that if we're going to scream and shout about censorship, which the people involved in ViralHerd are doing, they're making videos on YouTube, still cashing a paycheck from YouTube, by the way, multiple paychecks because they have an entire business built on the YouTube platform on its face. And then in the background, they're running a separate business off of the fact that YouTube content exists that they can put on their website and sell banner ads next to. It's hard for me to really say, well, then they are seriously trying to take on YouTube. They're subsisting off of YouTube and then acting as if they're providing an alternative. It's not an alternative. It's not an alternative. And so the point I was making last week was don't scream about censorship and how evil YouTube is. But then on the other hand, you're kind of using YouTube material to make a living. Right? I mean, YouTube can't be that evil if you're still cashing their paycheck. You can't obviously believe that YouTube is inherently evil, or, you can't say you're totally opposed to YouTube if that's how you're making money and on 2 fronts. Making sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So that is my point there. The ViralHerd press release says it's an online startup video sharing community based in the upstate of South Carolina. It was founded on the principles of the Constitution of the United States, specifically the right to free speech. The ViralHerd.com mission states it has a 2-part goal: to provide a gateway for content providers to build and monetize an audience of subscribers, and to provide an advertising platform for companies to market products and services. So right there, it sounds like it should be its own thing, but it's not its own thing. The concept for ViralHerd was born when content creators with a huge online following of subscribers began receiving warnings about channel suspension from YouTube. Video gamers and firearms reviewers who had been sharing game and product review videos on YouTube for years were suddenly in need of a new online home where they could stay engaged with their followers. From this need, ViralHerd was born. It does not limit, restrict, filter, hide, or throttle legal content. Beyond a less restrictive content policy, ViralHerd provides a superior user experience. The platform is free of pre-roll video advertisements and does not display any advertisements within the video player. Now that's curious to me. I don't know how they do that because, again, you go to the website and watch it. It's inside of a YouTube video player. You can click the link and go watch it on YouTube. It's like any other embedded YouTube video you see online. So that was my whole point of, okay, so if we're mad about censorship, then we do have to question using other people's content on your own website and sending out press releases saying you've built an alternative.
And see, this was my question when we talked about this briefly last week, was if all we're doing is embedding YouTube videos, yet we're standing up against YouTube's quote unquote censorship, what happens to your website that has simply hosted YouTube videos when YouTube says you can't be on it anymore?
Yeah.
So what have you done to combat this quote-unquote censorship.
No safety net. If YouTube suddenly decides all gun content's going to be deleted forever, there's no safety net, right? That's the problem. And I don't know. And I want to be real clear before we get too much deeper into it, because we've been talking about it for 20 minutes now. I'm not mad at these guys. I'm just talking some free advice that they may not care to ever hear. But the point is, hard to hear, hard lesson learned.
I don't want to hear it, but I keep coming back every week.
Here you are, my friend, stuck. I think they would find that the majority of people are visiting that site and actually having a poorer user experience than they do on YouTube. And it is curious why I go to that site and see only YouTube videos. And because, look, even if you take the idea of legalities out of the way, if that's how you're presenting your brand, why not just go to YouTube to get it? You're telling people this is on YouTube and you can just go there and get it. And so people are going to go back to YouTube and just get it through YouTube. So find a way to actually host it. And my suggestion would be, don't host all that content. The big names that you claim are a part of the ViralHerd founding fathers should delete their YouTube channels. And, well, no, don't delete the channels. They should suspend using them. They could be passive income channels that stay there until YouTube takes them down. But they should only post videos every week, the same video, reminding YouTubers that they are now found at viralherd.com. And you can take your top 5 earners, if you will, and say to them, just come be exclusively on ViralHerd, and we're going to find ways to sell your channel and make you money inside the gun industry. Then you go pressure the Glocks and Smith & Wessons and Springfields of the world, and you say, look, we're building this platform, and we've convinced these 5 to come on board, and we need you to do business with us so that this can thrive. And we can say that you were there when all this started. And then they'll come on board with you, and they'll pump money into it, and then you help these guys survive, thrive, and build the community. And then as they thrive and your community grows, you can actually pay to host the bandwidth. Makes sense? And actually have the videos there that you're posting, uploading, and owning. That is how you create an alternative to YouTube, not by using actual YouTube videos, because again, your audience is coming, they're feeling bamboozled, and they're feeling like they can just go get what they're seeing on YouTube. So that's a bad idea. But also, I do believe, sincerely and respectfully, it's hypocritical, very hypocritical, to out of one side of your mouth say YouTube is evil, and out of the other side you've built 2 business models on it. Okay? I don't think you're allowed to have that cake and eat it too, but I could be wrong. Okay? So I'm trying to say all that respectfully, but I disagree with the way they're doing those things. Okay. Here's where Brian makes a point in his email that I think is worth exploring. He says Hickok has been banned and restored. Hickok is the furthest thing from a poor representation of the gun community on YouTube. He was among the largest at the time, and YouTube indicated their intention with that move early on. Beyond that, YouTube has restricted a ton of gun content, unlike Yaeger. I don't mean demonetized, I mean restricted. It's within their rights. I'm not saying it's a free speech issue, but we are in an interesting time when it comes to new media potentially being throttled. Google is by far the largest search engine, and YouTube is number 2, even though it's not considered a search engine. They are both Google products among many other dominant online business tools. Excuse me. Go ahead and try to do business or distribute communication widely online without Google. It's more like the internet is free range, but most of the roads to water are owned by a private entity. It's legal, and I think it should be, but Google's political bias should concern us. We will always make a way. But when we were growing up, it was so much more difficult to get alternative, non-mainstream opinions about current events through media channels. These policies being executed will likely have a similar effect. Though I like Yaeger, it's not about Yaeger. And though sometimes I like YouTube, it's not really about YouTube. It's about Google's willingness to direct people to sources they agree with rather than based upon the interest in the free market. That's a strong point. And that's a terrifying point to consider that I hadn't considered yet. And so I say...
Well, you're not as smart as Brian.
Obviously not. And I give him that. I mean, he wins that argument all day long. There is something there to be said about the fact that if Google is controlling the content simply because it disagrees with it, we are in for a world of hurt. We're in for a world of hurt.
We're not in for it. We already are in it.
There you go.
Because they're already doing it. They've been doing it for some time now.
Yeah. Interestingly, to prove his point correct, I was in a meeting with a company about 2 weeks ago, and they had hired a marketing firm, whatever you would call these people. They'd hired this company, and that company came in and did a branding package for them. And they had set them up a Vimeo channel. And the guy said, I don't really know what to do with Vimeo. Why do we have a Vimeo channel? And I said, I have no idea. And he's like, really? And I said, my guess is that the people that were working for you at that time didn't have strong video editing capabilities and probably used video's editing platform because that's how Vimeo sells itself. Nobody says, how do I do this? Well, let me get on Vimeo and search it out. Everybody says, how do I do this? Let's get on YouTube. There's a video. Everybody says that. And that's what this gentleman and I were talking about was how do we build these tutorials for your people to find? We do it via YouTube. We kind of had a chuckle about that. But the point is, it's true. And everybody recognizes it's true. And YouTube is where people are going to search things out. For instance, we had a story on the docket tonight about Yaeger. We think that's how you say his name. Getting ousted at the Young Turks for being a racist, homophobic, sexist pig.
He's also not as short as I thought he was. I looked it up.
Oh, how tall is he?
He's 5'9".
Yeah, that's pretty short.
But there's some. Hey, you take it easy, buddy.
Oh, sorry.
As a guy that's about 5'10" and a half, I'm not far away from him. But there were some interviews that I saw, and I don't know, maybe he was just behind like a really big podium.
Yeah.
So he just looked really short.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where I got that. So forgive me.
Is there like a midget phobia? Is there a small phobia where like you're just afraid of midgets?
I mean, I've seen Game of Thrones.
You're just biased against them?
I don't really see what the big deal is.
Okay.
I watched Elf the other week. Every day.
It's full of them.
Every day.
Oh, he's an angry elf.
Every day. It was on every day, in case you didn't know.
I know.
And Lindsay made me watch it every day.
My kids love that movie, which makes me happy.
I love it too.
Such a fun movie.
But, I mean, come on. I don't need to see it 9 nights in a row.
So the point is proven. We went to YouTube to find out how to pronounce that guy's name.
He's an angry elf.
Santa, no, you're here. I didn't know how to pronounce Chank's name, and so I went to YouTube and said, "How do you? Is it Sink? Is it Shank? Is it Chink? I don't know." And no, it's Jank or Jank. I think it's Jank. Jank Yaeger, Uygur, Yaeger. Anyway, so yeah, YouTube's used for all that kind of stuff, and if they're making it a point to not allow content, then it's simply because they disagree with it, then yeah, that's disheartening. That's troubling. Should we do something about it? For sure. But as Brian noted, totally legal. They're allowed to do that. It's private business. And that really is a very strong point. And I'm not trying to scuttle out from underneath being wrong, but it wasn't the scope of the argument. The argument I was making is as a community, as a gun community, we can't tout things and say we're anti-YouTube and YouTube is evil and let's all band together and create this alternative and then not actually do that. I think it should be done. I think it can be done. I think there are really easy, strong ideas out there that would allow you to make it happen if we can get people on board. The hard part is getting people on board because, again, YouTube's a juggernaut. You're not going to convince people very quickly to abandon YouTube because people are literally making a living on YouTube. So that's fine, but somebody can begin that transition. And it's not going to happen if we're embedding YouTube videos on our website and it has a YouTube sticker and we're just letting people know that, hey, yes, you can come here to get it, but obviously it's on YouTube, so you can go there too. You're not an alternative. You're just a replication. So, right or wrong, I don't know. That's the way I feel about it. Hulon. Oh, and Brian, thank you so much. Hulon, what, if anything, is happening at Remington?
I would say very little is happening there and has been for quite some time.
Now, Remington, didn't they just recently fire a bunch of people? Because
I don't know, but if I had to guess, Either the answer is yes or they should.
September 11th. Wow. Guns.com. Remington Arms announcing more layoffs at its New York plants, reportedly due to an ongoing downturn in the firearms industry. If your name's Remington. They didn't say that. I did. They fired 156 employees in March, and now it's lowering the axe on 55 additional workers. So more than 200 people. I wonder what percentage of their workforce that is. I went through this. I went through this with radio. When I was in radio, I was working for Clear Channel, which is now iHeart Media, I think. But like the iHeart Radio app, iHeart whatever, Crapville radio station is out there. All that iHeart stuff is Clear Channel, and Clear Channel is actually a fantastic company to work for. They allow you your own website to build and maintain. I actually loved working for Clear Channel. But I do make fun of them because they fired 30% of their staff. At least I know they fired 30% of the air staff. I was part of that in the third round of layoffs. And they were very kind and gracious about it, and gave everybody 6 months severance. So that was great. No problem from my end. I was like, oh, I get to not work for 6 months? Great. But then they held the iHeart Music Festival and paid Katy Perry to be there and all these big names. You're like, wait a second. Couldn't you have kept me around for another couple of years at this point? For what you pay Katy Perry to perform once, that was 10 years of work for me. So I've seen a business in decline, and by that I mean an industry. I've seen radio begin to decline. I have friends who are still in radio that when I meet with them, all they do is gripe about working in radio, because radio is a very uncertain industry, because that is a facet that is always changing. It's always changing. We're consuming our media. We're receiving things differently every single day. Radio was way behind the curve on social media. I remember being told I couldn't associate myself on social media with the radio station, and then months later being in a meeting being told I was mandated to have a company-related social media page. It was all about MySpace at the time, and it was just so humorous. The morning show guys thought MySpace was a dating site, and blah, 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 on and on it goes. Radio has always been behind. So that's a declining industry that I was a part of for more than a decade. I get it. I've seen it. Currently working inside the gun industry, that is not a declining industry unless your product is really, really bad. Or, in the case of Silencer Co., unless you've had some major PR flubs.
Sure.
Where you've convinced everybody that don't buy our product now because it's going to be a lot easier to buy in 6 months. And then they don't buy it now. They don't buy it in 6 months. And now they haven't bought it in a year because you convinced them it's going to get that much easier.
And now they're pissed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You could tell that at NRA. Everybody in the Silencer Co. booth, I think we said before here, just seemed disgruntled.
They did not want to be there.
Nobody.
Because it was one of those, like, I'm going to stand in the corner and hope no one asks me any questions about the Hearing Protection Act.
Right.
That's pretty much
I'm sure everybody did. Yeah.
Yeah. A matter of fact, we interviewed some people on camera there. Mm-hmm. And I think, full disclosure, it's fair to say now that was one of the things that was discussed before the cameras were rolling was, hey, guys, we just so we're clear, we really don't want to talk about HPA at all. Okay?
Right.
So we'll talk about anything else you want to talk about, any products that we've got. We'll even tell you trade secrets. However, on camera, no HPA.
If you will not talk HPA, you can have these schematics.
We will actually sign over the patents.
This is the Omega.
Just don't bring it up.
Just go make your own. And here's a free 3D printer for not bringing it up. Oh, thanks.
I think the problem with Remington is there's actually a really cool video. There's a cool video out there of how Remington 700s were made back in, I think, the late 60s.
Yeah.
Where they were turned by hand. The stocks were handmade, the hand checkered, the whole bit.
Like a Kimber used to be, huh?
Super cool video. Let's not go that far.
Oh, sorry.
These were quality firearms. Okay. So there is a distinction. But, I
like you just really backhandedly called Kimber crap. Like,
I would never.
No, these were quality guns. Yeah, I said Kimber. Right, I said quality. Oh,
and there's I was having a conversation with my dad. I think Christmas Eve, the first gun I ever got was a Remington 870 Magnum Express and 20 gauge, which I still have. It's a great gun. And so Remington has sort of always had a little bit of a special place in my heart because it's the first gun I ever had. But now it's just all junk. So they've kind of gone the way of Kimber. I'll just come right out and say it.
Oh, man.
I'm not going to hide it anymore. And I think that is in big part to the fact that Remington exists on that face value, but everything on the back end is no longer really Remington. They were bought 10 years ago by Freedom Group, and if you don't know what Freedom Group is, they're basically this big holding company that has gobbled up a bunch of sort of classic American firearms companies, and even some companies who, in my opinion, were innovators at the time, and they just wring their neck until there's nothing left, and they try to squeeze every penny out of them, and they kind of turn them into junk. So
they get money hungry, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's not about making a quality product. It's about how much money can we make off of whatever junk we can, get all these peasants to buy from us. So, it's a shame, and it's poor business at best, but it is what it is at this point. I mean, I don't know that Remington recovers from this unless someone with a backbone, someone that actually cares about the craftsmanship that goes into building firearms, and actually cares about the fact that Remington is sort of that all-American company, comes in and buys them up and does something with them.
Does something right, yeah. Well, the reason all this conversation exists is they had the R51, right? And they had this terrible handgun.
About 2 years ago?
Yeah. Terrible handgun that nobody would buy. I believe it had a recall on it, like a voluntary. Remington found something wrong with it.
Big time.
And so
they didn't work.
Big flop, right?
It's a fixed barrel design.
Get on YouTube and just look up the Remington R51. Okay, do yourself that favor, have a good laugh, crack a beer, it'll be a good time. But on Instagram this week, a company posted that you could get a Remington RM380 for $99 after the Remington $100 rebate. Here's why. So the gun will cost you $199 now. You'll mail in the rebate and get $100 back. Here's why that's comical, is because if you go to Remington.com, MSRP on the RM380 that is now selling for $99. Do you know? Did you just look?
No.
Take a guess. MSRP on that gun.
$350.
Higher.
$450?
Little lower, $436.
Okay.
$436. You're in the Glock 42 phase here. You're close to a Glock 43. You're way over an LCP. You're kind of, safe to say you're flirting with, hey man, am I going to spend $436 on this or $599 on the SIG? Well, I'm probably going to go $599 on a SIG. Hey, let me see that shield you have down there for $275. No way this gun commands $436. Quit kidding yourselves. And so I say that to say they're firing everybody. And then how did the meme go that you sent me? Because it really was kind of funny where it was.
Man, I have to go back and look. I don't remember.
It's official. Remington now has to sell guns cheaper than High Points, so people will be willing to buy them or something like that. Yeah, it's official. Remington pistols have to be cheaper than High Points before people will buy them. The Remington RM380, $99 after the mail-in rebate. So it just kind of makes you sad for them because, like you said, they're kind of an iconic brand for a very, very long time. A few years ago, before they had to recall their handgun, they recalled was it the 700 line or the 770s?
The
700, right?
Yeah.
And the rifles, because they were firing while the safety was engaged. Remington's had some tough times. It'll be interesting to see how they survive. And if I could just say something to the gun community at large, pay attention, take heed, take fair warning from these guys, because the stupidity that exists in a lot of these companies, it won't get you anywhere anymore, and it's more detrimental now than it ever has been before. These guns have sold themselves for the last decade. They have literally walked themselves into the hands of just willing customers who are, just give me whatever you got because Obama, and they run to the door and they're willing to pay 3 times more. I was at a gun show. You can get a strip lower receiver these days, for perspective, for $40, maybe $50 if you're looking a little bit longer than
about the going rate.
Let's just say $40 to $50 to be fair about it. I remember being at a gun show and seeing one on sale for $249 when Obama was in office, and I said to the guy, "What is that?" And he was like, "A lower receiver." I said, "For almost $300? And he goes, "Yeah." And I was like, "That's retarded." I was in a pawn shop, and they had a basic, I think it was a DPMS AR-15, just a basic rifle on the wall. I was looking for a new concealed carry gun, and I said to the guy, "What's up with that DPMS up there?" He goes, "What about it?" And I was like, "Well, it's $28.99, man. It's a $2,900 DPMS rifle.
Gold bar under the handguard."
Yeah. And I kid you not, this guy goes, "We're just trying to get back what we put into it." I said, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, just trying, that's what we paid for it. Trying to get that back out of it, man. We're being fair about it. It's not a gouge." And I said, okay. Right. So, hey, quick question. Does that guy still work here? And he said, "What guy?" I said, "The guy that paid $2,900 for a DPMS rifle." Does he still work in your pawn shop? Because he shouldn't. You should fire him yesterday. He should have been fired the day that happened. So the point is, people were gouging. We know that's true. A lot of companies didn't. Some companies did. Some companies like Academy went the way of the cowards and said, Academy and Dick's Sporting Goods, we're not going to carry these rifles. They're evil. Guns are bad things. Okay, fine. So their business has suffered. I get it. No problem. Some people did that. The point I'm making is,
those companies have all reversed those positions, by the way.
Right.
So Dick's and Academy,
what?
You walk in there now. I know, what? Shocked face.
Are you saying it was all about money? It was never about principle? What?
I may be implying that, yes, sir.
What?
But they do, in fact, have those guns on display now for sale. And I couldn't remember what all companies fell under the Freedom Group umbrella that gobbled Remington up.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So I'm going to read off a list to you here, and you tell me which ones of these strike you that you just can't believe that they make crappy products.
Is FN on the list?
Start with Remington.
Wait, okay.
Bushmaster.
Okay.
Advanced Armament Corporation.
Okay.
Kelton. One of your personal favorites coming up here, Marlin Firearms. H&R Firearms, which I don't even know who that is. Yep. Dakota Arms.
H&R makes like the single shot rifles, right? Like the handy rifles.
Maybe so, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I black out a lot. Para Ordnance.
What?
Which they dissolved.
They dissolved that brand. Yeah.
Which is probably the most popular brand they had, frankly.
Para was awesome. They were awesome, man.
The rumor was they were going to dissolve them and then move all the machines from Pineville, North Carolina, where Para was, down to Alabama somewhere. And then they were going to rebrand all these Para 1911s as Remington 1911s. So bring back the whole line, but now we're going to call it Remington. I don't think any of that ever happened other than they shut Para down.
Man, I wish they would have. I'd buy a Remington 1911 tomorrow. Go ahead.
You lie.
I like Para. That's all I'm saying.
Parker Gun? No clue. Tapco.
What?
So if you need some chintzy crap to put on an SKS, they got you covered. Barnes Bullets. And last but not least, Mountain Khakis. Because that fits right in.
Mountain Khakis. Those are my favorite kind of khakis. Yeah, I'll tell you, man. That sounds like a place I wouldn't want to work. Hey, Kris, get up and sell this. Nah, I'm all right, man. No, you have to.
I actually met...
Yeah, actually, I'm probably not going to work here much longer.
I met the leadership of Remington about 4 years ago. The president, vice president, CFO, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I got to tell you, they were a big barrel of personality.
Oh, yeah?
No, I'm lying. They sucked. They were terrible.
That'll get you,
It
man.
was one of those like where I walked up and I started shaking their hands and it was like, yeah, good to meet you. Yeah, okay, yeah, good.
Yeah.
And then everybody just stood in awkward silence, sort of in this odd circle for a minute. And I was kind of like, well, see you later.
Yeah. It's funny because I've read an article today, I think, maybe yesterday, about Chick-fil-A opening their store in the Atlanta airport on Sunday to feed the stranded airline passengers,
the starving masses.
Yeah, and the point of the story was you can have principle, but you can be flexible, and that's a recipe for success. However, the other half of the article was about the fact that KFC did $1.1 million per store in sales last year, and Chick-fil-A did $4.5 million per store last year, and they don't nearly have the presence that KFC does around the country. So why is KFC capable of doing that? And the answer was why is Chick-fil-A capable? And the answer was because they're Chick-fil-A. And so they actually interviewed a former vice president of the company, and they said, obviously, it's an easy recipe to success. It's fried chicken. Why can't other companies replicate that? And he said they never will, because it's not about the chicken. It's about the Cathys. And it's about the fact that every employee that works for Chick-fil-A loves working at Chick-fil-A because the example comes from the top down. And you will not meet somebody that works at Chick-fil-A that does not revere the Cathy family because they've had an impact on that person's life. So the point is that if you meet the Remington crew and then you consider meeting the FN crew, as we both have, and you understand that everyone that works at FN loves working there. But it seems to me, from what you just said, you're able to meet some higher ups at Remington who are just kind of like, whatever, can we move along? That's not going to last, because that's going to go all the way down to the bottom rung of the organization. And so the point is, if you can't have that at the top, you'll never have it at the bottom, and that will translate to everybody trying to do business with you. And that might say a lot about why all the companies listed on the Freedom Group that you just read off, every one of those is a company I would never think about doing business with. And it would probably be hard to find somebody super passionate about working for those brands. Makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that makes me wonder. Okay, interesting. So Remington is a sinking ship, and take it as fair warning, gun community, gun companies. You have got to get your game on point. No more of these half-witted experiments. No more of this. Let's just suppose they sell themselves. And if we could get away from the cheesy, like gun bunny / American explosive advertisements, that would be awesome.
Check out Blackjack Operator on Instagram. He has declared jihad against the gun bunnies, and it is awesome.
Oh, yeah?
He's holding nothing back.
All right, we got to find that Blackjack and get him on the show. All right, real quick, and then we'll give you our vote of the week. From theblaze.com, American companies announce employee bonuses, new investment, and they're crediting Donald Trump. All right, this is a lesson in two things. Number one, less taxes mean better business. They mean happier people, happier individuals, okay? But also that trickle-down economics works, okay? When the people at the top succeed, they will naturally pass that down to the people under them.
No, they won't. Nancy Pelosi told me otherwise.
Okay. Here's the thing. If you're
in a drunken stupor, mind you, she told me that.
So really
she didn't know where she was or what day it was, but she told me that is not true, sir.
You basically just described her every waking moment. So
yeah.
Just so we're clear.
Yeah.
If you have a job in the United States of America and you cash a paycheck, guess what? You are the beneficiary of trickle-down economics. Because that's how every company, it's very similar when people say, well, trickle-down economics has never worked. Oh, really? Are you cashing a check every 2 weeks? Okay, you getting paid for every day's work? Then shut up about it.
I mean, even if you're not, right? Even if you're on welfare.
Right.
Trickling down from somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. It's coming from somebody else. You ever met somebody who tells you how they want to shop local and they hate big corporations, and then you have to remind them, well, everybody around me works somewhere. So, I mean, I get the shop local trend, how cool that sounds and all that, but let's not forget that Walmart creates 500 jobs wherever it goes.
That's people that are local.
That live next to me. Exactly. So my neighbor works at Walmart. You're telling me to shop local for what? To support a company that actually puts less into the local economy than Walmart does? No, I won't. Well, Walmart gets tax write-offs. What are you talking about? Yeah, but every one of their people, the 500 that work there, pay taxes back into my local economy. So it's just, and it's nice, and I get it because I love local businesses. You know, craft brew is a thing. I love the local guys doing their thing. I'm not saying that by any means. I'm only talking about thinking you have the moral high ground because you quote unquote shop local, okay? Or I'm a local business owner who hates shopping at Sam's Club. That goes against my beliefs because I think people should shop local. Sam's Club is employing 10 times as many people as your local business is. So get over yourself. But also admit that your goal would be to employ as many people as Sam's Club does. Right? That's why you're in business. Okay. So that's what this article proves. Trickle down economics works, and the shop local, not the movement and the fad. I love it. I really do. We go to the farmer's market. This candle on my table came from a local guy that makes them by hand. I get it. My point is there's no moral high ground to it. Love supporting those people, but there's no moral high ground. That's all I'm saying. So AT&T, Fifth Third Bank, Wells Fargo, Comcast, and Boeing are all handing out cash bonuses to employee, but only because tax reform passed and Trump has signed it into law. AT&T is going to spend $1 billion more inside the U.S. and provide $1,000 special bonus to more than 200,000 employees. I can't do that math, but that's a lot of money. Fifth Third, who funded my wife and I buying our car, it's 1,300 or 13,500 employees at $1,000 bonus while raising their hourly wage to at least $15. Wells Fargo doing the exact same thing and donating $400 million to philanthropic causes. Comcast saying it'll donate $50 billion over 5 years in infrastructure spending and pay a bonus of $1,000 to more than 100,000 employees. And the Boeing company said it would donate $300 million into employee-related and charitable investments following the new tax law. I have no problems with it.
Comcast is going to give us $50 billion, put that back into the economy, but we're worried about net neutrality. Right? That's a thing.
Awesome. Awesome point, actually. A very astute point. But yes, and they're actually, Patrick, what you're missing is they're doing that because now there's no regulation on big businesses, so they're going to spend more money by giving it back into the, wait, no. They're going to,
You're never going to be a good...
I'm not a good liberal. Yeah. Not at all. All right, our vote of the week.
Wasn't the word I was going to use, but sure.
Oh, sorry. Wait, what?
No, go ahead.
Our vote of the week is anyone that believes this story. This is a good one.
This is another Bitcoin story.
Yeah, listen up, George. Don't send us your fake stories anymore. All right.
Suddenly we're the fact checkers.
That is a sad, sad world we live in.
Yeah. George of all people should know better.
So everybody, we have a friend named George, obviously, a mutual friend of ours who we spend a lot of time with mountain bikes.
He's curious.
Does it ever bother you that George is 6 years younger than us, but obviously the most mature of the group? Like, do you ever go home? Sometimes when I'm texting George,
it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, like he wanted to have a meeting. What was that today? Yeah, we were trying to set up a meeting for today that George was a part of for a little venture we got going, and he said he couldn't go. He said, "How about let's do it tomorrow?" And I text back, "Let me check with my friend," all caps, Patrick, and then I immediately text him, "Hey, Patrick." Parentheses, my real friend. George says he doesn't want to do anything with us right now. Says he's busy and can't play. What a jerk. And then, oh, sorry, George. Meant to text that to someone else. This was, and for the record, he just told me he's at work and he's got meetings all day. And this is how I'm bothering him. Sometimes I just think, good on George. He's the mature one of the group, but Somebody's got to play that part. Okay. Back to our vote of the week. Anybody that believes this story from the sun.co.uk. Mystery death. This is great. Russian billionaire whose death while out jogging sparked Putin conspiracy theories actually died after taking Viagra. Right. Okay, Russian media.
That he bought with Bitcoin.
Let me double check this on RT. Oh, it is true because the Russian state media says so. This is so good. A Russian billionaire whose death while out jogging sparked the conspiracy theories that the Kremlin ordered his hit had reportedly taken Viagra in the days before his death. Oh, by the way, he was a whistleblower. Okay, so he was like saying all the things the government was doing wrong. I wish I knew how to say his name. That'd be cool and, somewhat respectful. Whistleblower Alexander Perepelnitsky. I don't know, was found dead outside of his home in 2012. Before his death, he'd been helping with an investment firm to uncover a £150 million Russian money laundering operation.
No.
Yeah. Rumors quickly circulated the billionaire had been targeted and a lawyer named as a candidate for the killing. So they've spoken out to protest the innocence of the lawyer accused of killing him, I guess. Wait a second. Let me reread this. Rumors quickly circulated that the billionaire had been targeted and a lawyer named as a candidate for the killing by the billionaire's insurers has spoken out to protest his innocence. Andrei Pavlov said he did not believe Alexander had been killed, adding that traces of the sex performance drug had been found in the dead man's system. He told The Times, "I find it an incredible pity that the story of the death of Alexander, despite the fervent plea for tact from his widow, is getting a dirty rinsing by certain individuals." A forensic toxicologist reportedly confirmed that Viagra traces had been found in the businessman's system. BuzzFeed News reports that Alexander had spent the days before his death in Paris with a fashion designer who said her companion had appeared worried. But don't worry, it was the Viagra that killed him, not the fact that he was uncovering Kremlin money laundering. Unbelievable. If you believe it, you are our Voda of the week. Okay. If you'll go to feltrecoilshow.com and click over to all of our social media, you'll find more stories that we didn't quite get to here. You can also see our Christmas feel-good video. It's so nice. It's so nice. Basically, it's a member of Antifa antagonizing a bunch of peaceful Christians celebrating the birth of Christ and then trying to run across the street and gets plowed down by a truck. It is awesome.
When I was young,
yes,
I was taught
to
look both ways before I crossed the road.
Mm-hmm. No, but this is anarchy. There are no rules here. This is Antifa, okay?
Well, but I think
they'll do what they want.
What I've learned now is that it's actually the fascists that want you to look both ways.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes.
And so if you're Antifa, you're not going to go with the flow there, okay? You're just going to put your hood up, and that way it's kind of like blinders, okay? Think of it like that.
Okay.
And you're not really going to see your left or right, and then suddenly a 2002 Nissan pickup truck is going to break your hip.
It's such a good video. It is a lot of fun. You can go see it. FeltRecoilShow.com. Click over to our Facebook page. It's posted there. In the meantime, in between time, next week will be episode number 59. And that'll be a good time. Will it be a new year by then? I'm terrible at what day it is. Yes, absolutely it will be. So do you have any New Year's resolutions, Helon? New Year resolutions?
That's not really a thing I do.
Okay.
I live my life, okay?
Good. I was hoping you'd say, I don't really want to do this podcast anymore, but that's fine. That's fine.
We'll talk about it after you hit stop.
Okay, cool. All right, we'll see you next time on the Fel Recoil Show podcast.